Hey guys, Jessica here. So today we're going to talk about the next level in flangizing and flange fit. So we always talk about flangizing in terms of the actual size of the flange, which just refers to the diameter of the tunnel inside the flange. So this one is a 25, this one is a 24, this one is a 17. So we think about those in terms of sizing, but when I tell you that there is something else about these three flanges that is far different than just the tunnel diameter, I am not kidding. It's the shape of the flange. So let's talk about what that means. So this is the tunnel. I affectionately call this part of the flange either the bell or the funnel. This is the part that's in contact with your areola and creating the seal at the breast. So the job of this part of the flange is to sit neatly against the breast. So with this one, you can see this one actually fits this, knit bobe that kind of conforms to everything pretty nicely. But for some people, it won't. There'll be a gap at the top, there'll be a gap at the bottom. It will have little air gaps around it. And that is a problem for when you're using the flange. So the flange can be your right size and the funnel can be the wrong shape, which means it's not going to fit you correctly. So funnels also come in different sizes. So this is definitely more narrow than this, which is actually a little bit wider, has a little bit wider opening. They're not quite 100% identical. They're close, but not quite. So this is an oval shaped flange. This is what most people actually need. I always joke with my clients that this is a kitchen funnel shape. And I don't know who looked at human breasts that were lactating and said, yep, I think a kitchen funnel shape, that's the best we could possibly do. So we're going to stick to that for like 100 years. This is not my favorite shape. Does it fit a lot of people? Yeah, it can. It can work well enough. If your tissue is fairly malleable, if you don't have overly wide, overly broad, kind of basketball shaped breasts, it could be a really good fit. But if you have extremely elongated breasts, this often ends up kind of pushing in and then the tissue bubbles over it like overproof bread dough, which is not what we want. We want to avoid that bubbling effect because that bubbling effect is actually putting pressure on the mammary tissue, which is blocking milk flow. So most people need an oval shape. Some people do really well with this round. It's also called a crater shape by my mom, but this is the Baby Buddha flange. It is a round bowl shaped flange, but not everybody will do well with that. How do we tell who can do well with what? Sometimes if we can see the breast tissue before you actually purchase a flange, there will be something about your anatomy where we can say, you know what? Like this breast is a fairly universal breast. It's going to fit almost everything. But other breast, I don't even have the other ones with me anymore because my 4-year-old steals them every time he comes in the office. But if you have a very broad breast, then I'm going to automatically say I want to do a broad oval shaped flange. If you have extremely elongated tissue, then I'm going to say, you know what, we probably want to avoid this one. Or if you have fairly, honestly, the way I think of it is like generic run of the mill breast tissue, we may recommend this. It's going to depend on your needs. The only way we can really tell is if there is something drastically noticeable about your tissue or if we see how it fits. If I see that, this one is bubbling over and it's not getting a good air seal, then I may recommend one of these. It's really just going to depend, but the shape of the flange is just as important as the size of the flange. And sometimes we do have to adjust that in order to get you better fitted. What we're looking for there is either before you turn on suction, the tissue is not sitting all the way in the tunnel. So this is really common with really broad breasts where, the nipple may only get about halfway in here. We want the nipple sitting in the tunnel. I want areola tissue touching the entire sides of this, and I don't want any tissue bubbling over on the outside. If we see that, that's when we're going to adjust. If you see that and you're not sure which one is going to be a better fit, definitely book a consultation with me so that we can help you figure that out. You may get an increase in milk flow, an increase in comfort, and this is actually where I see the speed of pumping increase. So if you are pumping 30 minutes with a flange that is pushed into your breast tissue, causing that milk to slow, if we change that, we may be able to pump in 20 minutes. We may be able to pump in 15. This plays a bigger role. Now, is that a guarantee that if we change your flange shape, you're going to pump faster? No, because for some people, there are other issues that are encouraging that milk flow. Either their pump schedule is set up so that it's more likely that they're going to need longer pump sessions. There's some type of inefficiency. There's an issue with the thyroid. They're using a pump that's not 100% optimal for their body. But when we have healthy milk flow, a good pumping plan, the pump is being used optimally, the flanges fit it properly, if we can get that shape dialed in, that's when we typically see the best results in terms of pumping speed. So hopefully this makes some sense. If you've been working with me and you're hearing me talk about shape, this is why I'm talking about it. If you are looking at your flanges and you can't figure out quite what might be wrong because you've measured and it's just not making sense because these sizes should fit you, this is the next thing I would look at. Is I would check out shape and see how that is working for you and see what that might be able to tell us. So hopefully this helps, and let me know if you have any questions, and happy pumping.